Obviously, this is going to get sent all together. That's a joke. Bitch, get a life.
Bitch, get a life.
Podcasting is really, we'll see. At least we can laugh at ourselves.
Live from Nashville, it's Millie Kirkland.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I did a lot of cooking today because our tradition, like every year on every birthday, we make donuts. So 5 times a year, my dad brings out like the deep fryer and it's like a whole process. You make the dough the night before, it rises, you get up early, roll them out. So it's a whole process and it's like fun to do. So I did that this morning.
Okay, so I've been having my podcast guests introduce themselves any way they want.
Okay, I'll give my basic introduction, which is that my name's Millie. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I go to Georgetown with Allie. I made Allie come and visit me in Nashville recently. So I really like Nashville. I really like my city. I also really like Spanish. I'm that obnoxious person that talks with the Castilian accent as though I'm actually from Spain. Teaser alert to myself and everyone else, I'm not. But I like to pretend. I have one friend that goes to Miami and she literally goes on like yachts and they have pool party darties every weekend. It's 80 degrees. She's so tan and just living life largely.
Honestly, I feel like I could have gone there and studied like marine biology stuff and probably been really happy.
Have you ever seen the movie Sliding Doors?
No. Oh, wait, is that with Gwyneth Paltrow?
Yeah.
But I've never watched it.
It maybe is. I always think about that when people talk about how, oh, I could have been so happy here, because that's exactly what the movie is about. So it's about this one woman and this one moment in her life. And so the first scene, she makes the metro. She makes the train on the way home. She catches her boyfriend cheating on her, and then her life proceeds from there. The second option, though, the second scenario is she narrowly misses the train and she doesn't catch her boyfriend cheating on her, and her life proceeds so much differently. It's kind of a cheesy story, but it shows the difference in literally 3 seconds and how one little minute detail in your life can lead you down 2 different paths.
I have like chills hearing you say that.
It kind of reminds me of my mom's favorite quote that she always tells me: never regret anything. Everyone makes mistakes, but you would never end up where you are without the things that you've done in the past.
That's such good advice. I feel like each moment that we've had before brings us to the moment that we're in right now, regardless of what the moments before were like insanely happy or actually terrible.
Yeah.
And that's like a really good sentiment, but then sometimes I sit here and I like think back on things that I did in the past and I am just like horrified at myself. And I'm like, I don't even want to be near you right now.
I remember times in school when I'd wake up in my bed, like kind of startled, remember something I did the night before, and just have this pit in my stomach.
Oh yeah.
Like, why did I make that mistake?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I think a lot of times, do I explain this? Okay, so let's take a case study. The night that I dressed up as the Barbie for Halloween, I actually woke up that morning. I had a backpack on, and I looked down at my bed. It was completely covered in blood. And then I got really mad. I was like, who did this? That night, Annabelle told me that I threw up on the Uber. So I was like, oh, that's good. I kept it contained. I was probably like on the hood of the car, like, I'm so sorry. 2 weeks later, she brings it up again, but like in a joking way that makes it seem like it was like much worse than just throwing up on the hood of a car. Turns out I was in the back seat of the car and I threw up through the little hole between the headrest and the seat. I like projectile vomited on the back of the Uber driver's neck. And that's what Annabelle thought you could say is throwing up on the Uber.
This is the first time I've heard this part of the story.
That's horrifying.
Was it an extra fee?
Oh yeah, I paid. It was on Aaliyah's account. I think it's a $200 cleaning fee, but that man lost some dignity that night that he's never getting back. That was a roughie.
But like, I think that it's not uncommon for people to make self-deprecating jokes when they're super embarrassed or like kind of nervous about other people's reactions. And so like an instinct is, okay, let's protect myself. I'll make fun of myself before anyone else can.
Right. I think it's a way of keeping the power. When I was younger, I would always ask people, I still feel like I kind of do, but I would always ask people if I was like good enough. And my mom used to yell at me and she was like, stop giving away your power to other people. Of course, then I just started crying and apologizing to her. So that didn't really pan out in the moment. But like now, now I can understand what she was saying. So you actually brought up something interesting that I think I went to visit you over New Year's.
You did.
And that was my first time in Nashville. It was a lot of fun. I met your high school friends too.
Yes. How much can I elaborate on my high school
You go. Well, I'm just kind of planting seeds. And
we'll get a little teaser. One such high school friend is a Middlebury boy. He happened to graduate in my class. He's extremely Southern, deep Southern accent. So it's New Year's Eve. We go to this New Year's party. Allie and I are one of the first people to arrive. Cole, Nashville, Middlebury boy, whatever you want to refer to him as. This man comes running. He like sees Allie walk in the door with me, and trust me, I know it's not me. I've known this kid since kindergarten. We're strictly friends. It was so funny. He like beelines it over to us, and I'm like, oh, hey Cole, how are you? And he's like, hi, who's your friend? I'm like, and then they hit it off. The night progresses. So one thing led to another, and I walked outside to go sit by the fire and hang out with friends, and they walked off into the bushes to not sit with friends.
Yeah, we were in the bushes for a little while.
While they were in the bushes, I burned Allie's jacket because I was not noticing that I had literally caught fire, but that's okay.
You actually literally did catch on fire. I lost track of time.
Yeah, I
lost track of a lot of things in the bushes. So we played football and baseball at Middlebury, and he invited me to go to his formals with him up in Vermont.
He did.
And so that's at that point I started to feel, I don't know, like extremely uncomfortable. And do you remember when he was like, yeah, I was leaving the next day, and he was like, oh, I was leaving at night the next day. And do you remember he asked like, oh, so like what time are you leaving tomorrow? And I was like, really early flight. First flight out. Sorry, guy. I actually think I need to get home to pack. Like, oh my gosh. But now he's very nice. He's a
friendly guy, but he's a lot.
Yeah. And I think that would be like a lot romantically, because I guess I'm into people that just basically don't like me.
Hard to get. It is a type.
Or just like able to get and impossible to keep. So that's been super fun for you.
I like that one. Yeah, Cole is not that type.
I did something else that night. We cannot.
That my dog witnessed. My poor dog.
It was New Year's Eve. I had to go really big, apparently. So I basically just got in touch with a past pal of a sexual nature. And we had a conversation. And the dog watched.
Yeah, that's about what happened.
Jessie and I had quite a night. Jessie is her dog. He was facing the other direction. Okay, Millie. Also, another thing I noticed when I was visiting you is how you basically know everyone in your town. What's up with that?
I don't know. So I've always described Nashville as it's a small town stuck in a big city. I always joke, and my friends will joke with me too, the ones at home. They're like, you actually have to check if you're related to the guys you're interested in. My family is really big, and it's just extended, and we're all in Nashville. And so I'm not going to accidentally date my second cousin. I'm not country like that. They would be funky looking kids, and I'm not close to that desperate. There's a lot of people that come to Nashville and they don't leave Nashville. I'm the third generation at my high school. It's just a city with a lot of character. The people are friendly. The city is always lively. You go to any random restaurant and the live music is incredible. I don't know. I love it here, but I really do wonder if I'm going to come back. I've always had these like two pulls, I feel like. And like growing up in the South, like I have the Southern manners, the Southern warmness, I guess, friendliness. Like there are definitely certain aspects of it that I love. And I do love the South, but I like the fast-paced life too. So like I would like to be in a big city. I like when you get to know people that come from different places. I've always joked that I have all these different gears. All that to be said, I have these different parts of me that any of which I can be happy with, but it's just a matter of I have to figure out which one I'm most happy with and which one I want to kind of more permanently be. I feel more challenged. I feel most like myself when I'm with people from all over.
That's an interesting idea that when you're spending time with people that are different from you, there's less pressure to be fitting into a certain mold that the people around you are creating, and that it frees you to just sort of be who you want to be.
Oh, I love that. I've never actually been able to put that sentiment into words. I don't know. That's very true.
This episode is supposed to be about your identity as a Southern person. We touched on this a little bit about how it's like changed maybe since you started school at Georgetown.
Yeah, I think kind of moving away has been fun because it's allowed me to choose the parts of my identity as a Southerner that I'd like to keep and the ones that I'd like to distance myself from. I love the friendliness. Like smile, you acknowledge each other. And I even will start a conversation with random people occasionally. That friendliness is just something that's so ingrained in me that I thought it was normal. I thought it happened everywhere. But coming to school and then farther north, I've come to realize that that's not how everyone has been raised. I like some aspects of the manners. Like I think that the please and thank you and just general kindness to those around you is a good thing. But the ma'am and sir is unnecessary. There definitely are more Southern stereotypes of what a woman should be. Like a woman's place in the household, a woman's place. Like my grandfather will still make these comments about my grandmother that I'm like, hello. And it'll be subtle things that he doesn't pick up on. My parents probably don't pick up on them, but it's like the generational thing. I cuss like a sailor more so than my brothers, but it's frowned upon more for me than it is for my brothers.
Yeah.
And that bugs. I don't like that.
So like what are other qualities of Southern guys? And kind of like how do they compare to the Georgetown guys?
Okay. So I've realized that that's everywhere. Like the all boys type of guy, I think it exists no matter where you are. I think that the real defining things, let's say, are the politeness. So I am so used to any guy opening the door for me, paying for my meals, like becoming friends with my family. They always want to be considered nice guys. Even the most playboy type, the one that gets with a different girl every weekend. Spoiler alert, my high school friend group's nickname, recycling bin, because of how many times the same guys were rotated through. I claim to fame, actually not a member or participant in the recycling bin. I just need to distinguish myself from that.
Good job.
But
Mara.
it is pretty funny. Thank you. I'm proud. Even the like guys that are players, they don't want to let you know that they're a player. And I think that's like the main difference, because meeting guys from the North, like a player is a player. They're going to be honest to who they are. Like the guys that are going to get with a different girl every night, they are upfront about it. It's not really like they're disguising it.
Yeah.
But I think that the guys in the South definitely do more so.
That's so interesting. Okay, so this is actually something that worries me a lot when I'm thinking about like spending time with a guy and guys that I've spent time with. Sometimes I worry if they're doing it because they actually want to do it and actually mean it, or because they think they should, or they think it's what a nice guy would do. I would literally rather you tell me you think I'm the ugliest, most boring, most heinous, than have you tell me something that's a lie.
No, I completely agree. And I've definitely been attracted to honesty. I don't know. I have more faith in the guys that I'm meeting here that what they're telling me is, I mean, it may be a scam in some sense, but it's an honest scam.
Yeah.
To go on the flip side in general, I think this is something I've learned more recently too, is that guys in general, they don't really do much that they don't want to. But I do get where you're coming from with the guys. Like my ex, it would drive me crazy because he would never pick the restaurant and he thought he was being polite. So like whenever we went out to eat, he'd be like, oh, you can choose. I was like, I don't want to choose. He was like, no, you choose. It's like, I genuinely don't want to choose.
That's okay. When I say I get stressed out, like when he would be like, oh, like, yeah, you can stay over. Like, I'm like, is this like you baking me a cake because I just moved in next door?
Yeah.
Like, or do you actually mean it? Like,
It's
what do you
so
want?
confusing. I know. Sometimes I just want someone to like, some guy to just come in and say, listen, this is what I want.
Yes.
I like you, or I don't like you. I like you as a friend. Just something clear.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't dream about a guy coming in and being like, listen, I don't like you. We can just be friends. But I would so much rather have that than a guy being like sort of like wishy-washy and whatever. So this conversation reminded me of something, and it's that there's a difference. It's actually an anthropological concept. So there's a difference between high context and low context cultures. And there have been a lot of case studies in different parts of the world on this, but in the US, okay, so basically the South would be a high context culture because in order to read a situation accurately, you have to understand more of what's going on. Like, people don't always come out and say exactly what they mean, but this same concept argues that in the North, it's a low context culture, especially around like New York City, where people just come out at you and will say exactly what they mean. Will tell you to just get out of their way.
Whoa, that's such an interesting concept. That's really accurate. I think of this one phrase, bless your heart.
Oh gosh. That's like the scariest phrase to me, I feel like.
Oh, it's terrifying because talk about like needing context. Like, bless your heart, it's generally a condescending thing. But if you didn't know the terms, like bless your heart, it's like, okay, that's nice. But it's actually an offensive thing. You're making fun of someone when you say it. You're like, she didn't do so well on that test, or oh, she's stupid. Someone will say, bless her heart. It's a judgment they're making.
Right.
But if you didn't know that,
right.
And I definitely think it's nuanced. Like, of course, I'm talking about Southern stereotypes, like in more general terms, but of course there are exceptions to this. So Nashville is a pretty big city. I don't talk with a super Southern accent. My education was more liberal. I live next to New Yorkers and people from LA. Cultures can change and other cultures come in and dilute the culture a little bit.
Yeah.
And
I also think an interesting point that those differences are now being more thought of as rural versus urban. And so maybe people that are living in rural Pennsylvania, which is where my mom grew up, are more similar to what we would think of as like traditionally Southern than people living in a city in the actual South.
I like that. I think it's kind of true.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Millie. This was so fun.
Thanks, Allie.
All right, I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.